Welcome in, everyone. Thanks for joining. We are going to go ahead and get started. I imagine more folks will join us and we can circle back around and pick them up if they missed anything. But thank you so much for joining us for this demonstration of Artificial Intelligence Basics for Beginners. I am Cassandra Peck, your facilitator for this next hour. And I want to just introduce myself really quick, and then we'll introduce the platform and we'll get started. So I was in the service for 24 years. I retired in 2013. I share that with you for a few reasons. I was military intelligence by trade. And I want to share the military has been increasingly integrating AI into various aspects of its operations, spanning across different branches and different domains. And I'm constantly surprised with the speed of our innovation and the speed at which we are innovating and in regard to this thing we call artificial intelligence into our workplace. So it's pretty exciting to me, and I hope it's as exciting to each and every one of you. So I just want to take just a moment to just share the platform with you. I know we've been living in this posture for a really long time, but I want to make sure everybody feels comfortable and do just a quick housekeeping. If you haven't already found that toolbar down at the bottom of the screen, you hover down there and it will pop right up. Now down there at the bottom left, there's where your microphone and your camera is. Keep your cameras off. We've got a lot of folks in here and we definitely don't want to compete for bandwidth. If you end up asking questions towards the end of our time together, I would love to see your beautiful face. So at that time, feel free to flip your camera on if you would like to. There is a little pull down next to the microphone there. If you're having any input or output challenges, you can change them right there. Same with your camera. And then with that said, hover on over there to those little two people icon. Go ahead and open up that participant box and you can see the numbers are climbing. We've got 112 in here right now. You can scroll up and scroll down at your leisure, see all who's with us, see if you recognize any names, and you can definitely give them a shout out in the chat box and say hello. And that brings me to the chat box. If you haven't already, go ahead and open it. A lot of folks have already saying good morning to each other, but in good afternoon, depending upon where you are. So if you wouldn't mind, throw in the chat box, where are you? Where are you hailing from? Where are you currently? Let us all know where we have folks coming from. I know earlier we had a few folks from some international spaces as well. I just put me from Florida, from Tampa. All right, got a neighbor here from Tampa with me. Kansas, we've got the MEP Center. So we have a real diverse footprint here with us today. So thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. Last thing I want to share with you are the little reactions right there. Open those up. Anytime you hear something you like and you want to give a thumbs up, feel free to do so. This helps us create just a little bit of a live feel. You know, back when we were in the brick and mortar classrooms together, we could look to the left and look to the right and see each other's reactions. So these kind of serve that purpose and it keeps us moving around. We want to do something a little different every 7 to 9 minutes just to increase that engagement. So thank you for that, team. So with that, let's talk a little bit about understanding artificial intelligence, right? It's becoming increasingly important. I hope everyone would agree. And I think that's probably why you're here with us today. And as it continues to really shape various aspects of our lives and our industries, we've got to start thinking about some of these key concepts, right? And these considerations for understanding AI. So what I'd like everyone to do while we've got the chat box open, take the opportunity and just think of today, what part of AI, where have you used AI, seen AI, or experienced AI today in your world, in your life, professionally or personally? Throw it up there in that chat box. What are some experiences? Written communication, 100% Samantha, thank you. We've got Instagram. Thank you, Rosa. We've got GPT. That's a big one. We all love that one. The functionality of that one is wonderful. Creating presentations. Haven't really been exposed to it yet, Teresa. Okay, well, we're going to expose you to it just a little bit today. A great AI tool in Adobe. And that's kind of exciting, right? We're constantly discovering new opportunities where AI is present, and sometimes we don't even realize it. Training videos, Ron, definitely you're going to see one of those today. So virtual assistants, right? These platforms like Siri, like Google Assistant, Alexa, understanding and responding to voice commands. These recommendation systems are really cool, like Netflix, Spotify. Social media is a big one, right? As we look at, AI is ever present in our social media and online shopping, healthcare. We're going to talk a little bit about the amazing technology that has been advanced in healthcare and allows clinicians to better diagnose, more quickly diagnose cancers and different things that are going on to help us be treated more quickly and early on in some of these areas. Gaming, AI is big in gaming. We're going to talk about that one a little bit later too. So with that said, hopefully everyone feels comfortable in and around the platform. Couple of best practices, as mentioned, go ahead and keep those cameras off. If and when you decide to ask questions at the end of our time together, request you go ahead and pop that camera on so we can see your beautiful face. I am going to ask that you reserve questions to the end of our time together. We're at 129 right now. That way we can, I'll leave about 5 or 10 minutes of our time together to answer any questions that you may have and do my due diligence between myself and the rest of the team to answer your questions. And I just want to remind everyone, if anyone attended any of our sessions earlier, we've had 2 sessions already today. This is the same exact basic course, basic demo. And if you were thinking this was going to be a more advanced AI demo, it is not. We did 3 versions of the same demonstration so that we could not only manage the amount of folks that would be in the room, but also meet your needs in regard to those time zones. So if you attended one of the sessions earlier today, this is the same exact one. Of course, you're welcome to stay and learn a little bit more about it, but I do want to manage those expectations. So with that said, team, let's get started. Let's talk a little bit about understanding data. So when we talk about the basics, right, for beginners of artificial intelligence, I think it's really important that we kind of start at like a 10,000-foot view. Like, so we can look at where does it start? You know, where does it come from? So we're not expecting you to be a subject matter expert as a data scientist. I think all of us can be data scientists just based on technology. But at the basic level, just getting the understanding of where all of this started, where it comes from, and how it actually percolates and turns into this wonderful artificial intelligence. So we're going to start at like that 10,000, then we'll come down to a 5 and down to 1,000. In our 4-hour workshop, we take a real 100-foot look. We take deep dive, we do experiential activities, we play around in a lot of the tools and the functionality of the methodologies in which feed into artificial intelligence. So of course, everything starts with data. That makes sense, right? So as a military intelligence officer, a long time ago, I'm aging myself, I've been retired since 2013, it looked a lot different. And how we did the data mining and how we cleanse the data, if you will. You know, you pulp it, you cleanse it, you analyze it, right? And what artificial intelligence has done in regard to data, it has allowed us to more expeditiously analyze this data before the data becomes too old, before the data becomes unuseful. So data is everywhere. And that's really what artificial intelligence is about, is the data, right? So it's really important for us to understand that the foundation of every AI is data. That is what feeds them. And that's what allows artificial intelligence to learn. So it's all about the data, team. So AI chatbots, right, feeds off of the endless information, right, publicly available on the internet, you know, connecting relevant information. It begins mimicking human behavior based on the behavior of billions and billions of pieces of data. And I want you to kind of visualize what billions and billions of pieces of data might look like and feel like. And that, team, is why artificial intelligence is leading the way in our ability as data scientists, even in the layman's term, you know, in the new beginners, to understand how to use this data, right, efficiently. And analytical AI learns the correlation. It's all about the correlation of the data between different data sets and its capability, and creating predictive patterns, right? And providing comprehensive resorts of such. We think about self-driving AI, right? Using the data of traffic patterns, right? Global positioning software, active sensors even, and cameras, and the compounded, you know, previous behavior of all other active models. That to make decisions in doing what it does and how to respond to situations, right? So these are only a few, but I want you to just conceptualize. It's all about the data. And I'm going to keep ad nauseum talking about the power of the data and why it's really important for us to understand. That's where it starts, right? That's where it starts. Then what do we do with it, right? So we know artificial intelligence is, of course, the abbreviation is AI. It's a buzzword. We hear about it, but it refers really to the development. Think about it from this perspective. It refers to the development of computer systems that can perform tasks that typically require human intelligence. These systems are then designed to understand, reason, and learn from the data in order to make decisions and solve problems, make recommendations for us to ultimately solve problems. Right? They learn from those. These processes then enable AI systems to perform tasks, again, that would require us. So it alleviates some of the mundane, repetitive tasks, right? It tries hard to mimic, right, these thought processes. And it looks a little bit like this, right? This analyzing, reasoning, and learning. So AI machines analyze vast amounts of data to identify patterns, trends, or correlations, right? They process this information quickly and efficiently, extracting meaningful insights from these complex data sets. And this team, the ability to analyze data sets helps AI make informed recommendations to us more expeditiously than we could if we had to analyze all of this information. We could only analyze so much as people, as human beings. And it then takes this idea of this reasoning, because then the AI machine aims to mimic, right? Mimic human reasoning by using this logical thinking. And it helps them then make better recommendations to us using inference, right? They can evaluate different scenarios, weigh the pros and the cons, make logical deductions based on available information. And then this reasoning process allows AI systems, again, to provide those recommendations. And then think about it from that next step, right? You know, the machine learning, trying to mimic the learning, actually. We're going to take a deep dive in regard to what that looks like and what that feels like in the different types of learning in machine learning, because machines can learn from data to improve their performance, to constantly improve their performance, just as we learn from experience in some way. Remember, they're mimicking, you know, the human intelligence, right? They can adapt to new information, adjust their behavior, refine their models based on feedback, right? Based on feedback. And this learning process, this very important learning process can be, we're going to talk about supervised and unsupervised a little bit later, and how that actually takes us to that next level when we talk about machine learning in regards to artificial intelligence. So let's take a look, team, at kind of what we call the umbrella of artificial intelligence. So artificial intelligence is any program that is intended to mimic, as I said, the intelligence, mimic the intelligence or behavior of humans or even other living creatures. Has anyone ever seen an artificial intelligent animal, either on video or a documentary? It's pretty interesting. I watched a documentary where they made an artificial intelligence fox. And it was a little fox, and he had a little fur on him. And they were able to take the hormones of a fox and emulate the smell. And this little artificial intelligence fox had a camera in his eyes. So they were able to launch this little fox into a fox family, and they welcomed him because of the smell. And they allowed this little fox into their family, and they were able to study the behaviors and you know, the going-ons of this little fox family for better research. Kind of interesting. So not only humans, but of other living creatures as well. So it is that umbrella, team. It is that umbrella that machine learning and deep learning fall under. And it can, you know, be simple or it can be complex, right? Machine learning is, right, that subset of artificial intelligence that learns and develops behaviors from data that it processes. And team, it's really the relevancy. And again, I said, I'm going to say this ad nauseum. It's the relevancy and the quality of data that machine learning model is fed that will directly determine the development of the program. And that's why we have to keep going back. It's all about this data. It's all about this data. So deep learning is that type of machine learning, right? And it processes that data in similar patterns to the human brain, and therefore has this level of complexity that standard machine learning models do not have. So let's take a look at these and follow along. What I have for you, I want to show you a little example. I'm going to introduce you to Tony. Tony is an avatar that I created. I want you to watch and listen to Tony, and I'll talk to you a little bit about how I created him, where I created him, and I'd like your opinion. Do you like Tony? I get a lot of mixed feedback on Tony. So be prepared to jump into the chat box and let me know what you think of Tony. Enjoy this, team. I will turn my video off so we can manage and mitigate a little bit of buffering, and then we'll come back together to see what you think about Tony.
Welcome to our journey into the fascinating world of artificial intelligence, or AI. I am Tony, an avatar Cassandra created me using AI. She added human features to create a live feel. Did you see my eyebrows up? And now I will nod. Today we'll explore how AI is not just a tool of the future, but a part of our everyday lives, and how it can make so much you do every day easier, faster, and more accurate.
All right, team. I invite your feedback on Tony. Did you like him? He's amazing, Ron. I thought he was pretty cool. So with that, I want to tell you how easy it was. It took me maybe a minute to create that video. So it's a program called Cynthia, and it's spelled with an S. Synthesia, if I could pronounce it correctly, with an S. It's Synthesia. And all I did was pick an avatar, and you're going to see him a little bit later too, and I put him in some different clothes. You can change his voice, you can change his language. There's probably 100 different avatars to choose from. If you want to really get creative and you're doing some type of marketing, you can put him in a polo, put your own logo on him, and again, any language. So you have international reach as far as your marketing when you use this program. I'm going to spell it again. Synthesia. It's a wonderful program to play around with. And with that said, as mentioned, you can say, and all I did was I picked an avatar, and you can change his voice, not just his language, but his voice. Do you want it to be softer? Do you want it to be smoother? Do you want it to be energetic? Do you want it to be more kind of powerful? And I play around with voices, and then you say, tell me a little bit about the basics of AI. And that's all you do. And it makes the script, you hit publish, and there you go. You know what, Bridget? I'm not sure, but I would bet you that that's a question you could ask them directly and they would be able to answer. They would definitely be able to answer. Very good question. So I just wanted to introduce you to Tony, and that's just a small little tiny fidget of what we can do with artificial intelligence. Now, I get it, team. Artificial intelligence can be a little scary. And that's why I wanted to start at the 10,000 foot kind of view so you can see where it comes from. It starts with this data. It's all about the data. Thank you, Rachel. And then with that, we, right, as people, we're good stewards of that data. What do we use that data with? We're going to talk some more about that a little bit later, team. So let's take a look at and take a little bit. We're at the 10,000. Let's come down a little bit to the 5,000 view when it comes to machine learning. Machine learning is that subset, right? We said that, of artificial intelligence. But I want to be clear on the relationship between the two so you can fully understand artificial intelligence versus AI. AI is again, that umbrella, because it refers, right? AI is that broader field of creating intelligent machines that mimic that human cognitive function, such as learning we've discussed, and problem solving, and perceptions, and it encompasses this really wide range of techniques and algorithms and approaches aimed at developing systems, right? Systems of performing tasks, right? That is machine learning. So machine learning is that very specific approach within the field of AI. Hopefully that makes sense. That focuses on designing those algorithms. It really involves training models. We as people create the training models. So what I want, as we talk about coming down and thinking about where artificial intelligence comes from and the data sets, it's not just made up out of thin air. We as data scientists, when we look towards projects and the development of AI in our own organizations, we drive the train, right? Because it involves these training models, which is an advanced artificial intelligence course, but I want you to understand where it comes from, to recognize these patterns, to make these predictions or take actions based on input of data, right? You get where I'm going with that? Input of data, rather than relying on explicit instructions from programmers. Because while AI is overarching field, right, concerned with creating intelligent machines, machine learning is part of that, right? It's like that subset. It's like the vehicle, if you will. It really does, team. It offers several exciting possibilities, right? Due to the ability to analyze that data faster than we as people could ever do, and identify patterns way faster, and help make predictions, right? Help make predictions without explicit programming. Let's take a look. These are what we call the three main models, right? because machine learning has three main models. I mentioned to you we were going to talk about supervised and unsupervised learning, and I also want to talk to you a little bit about this idea of reinforcement type of learning. And some of you may relate to this when I get to that one. Many of you probably are using reinforced learning AI without even realizing you are, right? So there are some subsets, of course, of these learning models, but these are the three big ones that we're going to focus on. Supervised learning involves, remember I mentioned that training model. It's a training model using labeled data, known data. It's labeled, where the input data is paired with corresponding target labels. And just to get a basic understanding, in an advanced artificial intelligence course, you'll get more on how are these models actually created. The model learns to map the input data to the correct output by generalizing, right, from the labeled examples. It can then make predictions on new unseen data based on patterns it has learned. So it has these components, right? It's given example inputs, it's given desired outputs, what we want, and then it learns general rules to get the output from the input. Hopefully that makes sense. Now, unlearned, and this is kind of one of my favorite machine learning models because I think it's just kind of exciting in a geeky way. Unsupervised learning deals with unlabeled data. It's kind of like the what could be, right? It's more exploratory. The model aims to discover patterns, structures, or relationships within the data without any predefined labels. It explores the inherent structure of the data and groups similar instances together, enabling insights and potential clustering of data points, right? No inputs or outputs, finds its own structure. Learning can be the goal or means of the end or the end. So reinforcement learning, see if any of us, and you can let me know in the chat box, let me know in the chat box if any of you kind of relate to this type of machine learning. Reinforcement learning involves an agent learning to interact with an environment to maximize a reward signal. What is that? The agent takes actions in the environment and receives feedback in the form of rewards or penalties. What does that sound like? A little bit of gaming. Through trial and error, the agent learns to make decisions that lead to higher rewards over time. It's like when you're battling AI in a gaming system. So reinforcement learning is often used in scenarios where it is optimal of a sequence of actions needs to be learned, such as the gaming. Maybe like, I'm not a gamer, but throw some others out there that in gaming play or robotics, right? So it's interacting with a dynamic environment, working towards a defined goal, and the program feeds off of feedback and attempts to maximize it. All right, team. So let's move on. There's a lot of chatter in the chat box about Tony, and I am sure that we can talk a little bit more about that when we open up the floor for questions and answers. I love the chatter though, team. Keep it going. So capabilities of machine learning. Let's just tap some of these. Machine learning, the process is a really broad spectrum of abilities, a really broad spectrums. But let's talk about some of the fundamentals. And I'd like, as I call these out to you, I would like for you to think of where you might see this in your workspace or where this might help you in your workspace. So what about pattern recognition? So pattern recognition is machine learning algorithms that exhibit exceptional proficiency in identifying patterns and extracting insightful information from very extensive and intricate databases. This ability, I love that, a plant identifying app. Yay, Anne, perfect. I love it. The ability facilitates tasks such as recognizing images and speech and processes these in natural language and detecting anomalies as well. But how nice is that? You're like, what is this plant? And you can use your iPhone and it can tell you, is it a friendly plant? Is it poisonous? Or how do I take care of this plant? How much water does it need? How much sun does it need? Pretty cool. So what about prognostic modeling? Machine learning models can be trained to make forecasts or predictions based on historical data. This ability proves valuable in very diverse domains, including forecasting of sales, predicting demand, analyzing financial markets, and maybe even conducting predictive maintenance. And I'll give you an example from my life. About a year ago, we wanted to buy a home to be an Airbnb, serve as some passive income as we get closer towards retirement. So I found this tool called Airbnb DNA, and I could put any address into it, and it would do a predictive prognostic modeling in regard to how much I could make there, how much would it be its occupancy, what were the competitors in the area. And we've had it for a year, and it was spot on. It was absolutely spot on. So there's an example from my life, team. And as we continue to look at these, think about categorizations and regressions, right? Machine learning algorithms can categorize data into distinct groups, right? And predict continuous values. Think about this ability employed in tasks such as analyzing sediment, detecting spam. When we love that, diagnosing disease. We talked about that one earlier, assessing those credit scores and maybe developing recommendation systems. So be thinking, team, what of these areas would be applicable in your role and responsibility in the workplace? Personalization and recommendations. I know we've all experienced these on Netflix, on Amazon, everywhere we turn. Machine learning models can learn from user behavior. My own behavior makes recommendations to me and preferences and offers me customized recommendations. This tool, team, this ability is extensively used, right, in those recommendation systems that I used in music, in movies, and purchasing. And then just, think about your ability to optimize and decision make. Machine learning techniques can really optimize some of the intrinsic systems that make decisions a little bit easier based on data, can help us make those decisions, right? Helping us with supply chains. How much should I order? How far back should I look? Those kinds of things. And then, of course, processing natural language. Right? Machine learning empowers the comprehensive and generation of human language, similar to Tony as well. The ability empowers virtual assistants, chatbots, language translations. Teams, there are merely a few of our instances. There are so many of abilities of machine learning. And as the field progresses, novel techniques and applications are constantly being developed and broadening the potential for machine learning. Absolutely, Sherry. Using a system to complete report appears to be an example of pattern recognition, 100%. So we have the opportunity to use this for the greater good, right? Now, we're going to talk a little bit later. There are some risks, there are some concerns, and there are things that we want to think about mitigating. And we'll put some of those tools into your hand during our 4-hour workshop. But I want to tap what some of those might look like and what some of those might be. So a look at deep learning, right? So we looked at, the umbrella of artificial intelligence. We just tapped it. We're at that 5,000-foot view. We looked at machine learning. Now, deep learning. It is now a subset of machine learning. And it holds a very significant excitement and promise due to some of these key factors, right? The complexity of handling, because deep learning models can handle highly complex data, representations, and really extract intricate patterns from a vast amount of data. And this capability makes it really suitable for tasks, right? Such as what we were talking, the image recognition, the natural language processing, and speech recognition, right? Because features, when you think about deep learning, architectures can automatically learn really relevant features or representations directly from the data and eliminating the need for manual feature engineering. Now, think about this. This ability to learn in this kind of hierarchical representation of data enables a more robust and flexible model, right? It's scalable. The models can scale efficiently with these databases and these complex problems, leveraging parallel processing and distributed computing resources way faster than we could. And this scalability allows for the analysis of massive amounts of data and in the training of increasing sophisticated models. So I want you to think about it. I mentioned earlier, I said visualize billions and billions of pieces of data, and think about us as data scientists. And again, we're all data scientists nowadays with technology. Think about us trying to go through it and analyze it. And data decays quite quickly because Megan, go ahead, and you have a hot mic if you wouldn't mind checking, please. Team, if you would check for hot mics, I would appreciate it. Thank you so much. So back to what I was mentioning with data and how quickly it decays. Do you have a data swamp or do you have a data lake? If you've ever heard those terms, a data lake means that we're quickly processing our data efficiently and effectively, and we're keeping it clean. Data swamp means we're bogged down with so much data we can't even get through the muck and the of the dirty swamp to utilize that data efficiently. And that team is where machine learning comes in. It's a tool for us. It's not something to take over. It's a tool to help us more efficiently and more effectively process our data. So let's take a look at, let's come down a little bit deeper and look at some everyday kind of examples, right? Workflow of a data science project. So let's say you're bringing artificial intelligence into your organization and you're creating a project utilizing artificial intelligence. These are the steps, right? And this is just a tap. When we do our 4-hour workshop, we do some experiential activities. We give you the roadmap into a data science project. And this is just a tap of that kind of process in these steps. You do the data acquisition, right? So where we gather that data. This step involves gathering the necessary data for your project. It might include collecting data from various resources, such as databases, external data sets, surveys, reliable and representative of the problem, right? You want it to be the right data that you're looking for. You've got to ask the right question to get the right data. So data exploration. So once you have acquired the data, the next step is, of course, to understand, okay, what do I do with all this? So I want to have a data lake. I don't want to have a data swamp. And once you've acquired this, then you can explore and look towards understanding it. And this team involves performing the descriptive statistics, right? Data cleansing and data reprocessing tasks. You might need to handle some missing values, maybe some outliers, some inconsistencies. Then we can go into that data modeling. In this step, you develop and train machine learning, right? And again, this is an advanced course, but I want you to understand where you get there. This is covered deeply in advanced artificial intelligence, but as a beginner, you want to say, how do we even get there? Where does this data even come from? How does a model even get fed into machine learning, right? This is where you develop those statistic models. Developing, the nature of your problem, or depending on the nature of the problem is how you develop it. You might choose from a variety of modeling techniques like regression and classification and clustering and deep learning. And that is the goal, is to build that model that can effectively predict and or explain the target variable based on what you're looking for. And of course, one of the things that we have to think about, and is sometimes a challenge, is then how do we communicate and get the buy-in, right? Communication and visualization of results, because depending upon who your stakeholders are, you're going to want to meet those questions head on with some visualization. Once you've trained your models, and obtained the results using artificial intelligence and deep learning, it's really important that you communicate your findings effectively. And we take a deep dive on how to do that. This step involves visualization, of course, everything pictures worth 1,000 words, making charts and graphs and interactive dashboards. And visualization can help us not only present complex information in a more understandable and insightful manner, but it also can help us get that buy-in and get that support we need. And the last piece that we're always looking at in regard to the workflow of a data science project is, what am I doing well? How can I reflect? Reflection is this essential step. And you've communicated it, you've beta tested it, you've refined it. Now you want to step back and say, this involves evaluating the performance. How well is it doing? What's going well? What's not going so well? What do I need to assess? How do I assess the quality of my analysis, and reflecting on the limitations and potential biases, which we're going to talk more about here shortly, of your approach. Reflection helps you identify the areas for improvement. So this is just kind of, again, we're at this broad brush of understanding, where do these models come from? And even as a basic new data scientist, again, we're all data scientists, we want to understand, where does this grow from? Where does this come from? It just doesn't miraculously appear. So by following these steps in a very systematic manner, you can efficiently tackle complex problems, gaining really valuable insight and delivering impactful results. I'd like us to think a little bit about every job function needs to learn how to use data. Would we agree with that? Every job function needs to learn how to use data. So what I'd like to ask you to do is open up that chat box again. And I'd like you to think about a job function that's maybe related to you, maybe a job function you're in, or one that impacts you on a day-to-day basis, where you think data and artificial intelligence would be beneficial. Like maybe I'll throw the first one out there, maybe HR. Would HR benefit from training? Absolutely, 100%. Thank you, Kristen. We got I second that motion from Monique. Cost estimating, readership levels, right? Communication, what we publish, social media, doctrine analysis, 100%. 100%. Let's talk a little bit about how data and artificial intelligence can help management and leadership. We'll start with that one because that's my favorite one. Understanding data would really allow leaders to make informed decisions based on evidence rather than intuition alone. Now, I say intuition alone because I think your experience and your intuition is super important, but that working in tandem with data, that helps us make the best decision. When we can analyze trends, right, that helps us with strategic planning, resource allocation, setting realistic goals, data-driven insights, enabling leaders to identify opportunities for innovation and growth. So there's an example on how it can help us with leadership and management. What about marketing? Anyone with us in marketing and sales? Analyzing customer data. Think about that. Analyzing customer data to help us understand the consumer behavior. Why do they do what they do? Preferences, trends, leading to more targeted marketing campaigns. There are so many apps that are marketing apps that we get little rewards back from. Does anybody use any of those? There's Upside for fuel, then they can look at where people are buying their fuel at. There is Ibotta, right? There's Ibotta, that Honey. Yes, Honey is a good one too. And all of those. Fetch, I love Fetch. If you're not using Fetch and Ibotta, team, you've got to find those. If you don't like people tracking what you're buying, okay, I get it. But I don't mind. I want to say, no exaggeration, with Ibotta, I've gotten back over the years $7,000. And it's just scanning receipts. And then folks are looking at what people are buying. They're looking for those trends, right? And they get paid by the folks that are hiring them to give them this data analysis. Pretty cool. So think about human resources. Data-driven HR analytics. Wow, what could that be like? This could really optimize recruitment, right? By identifying the most effective sourcing channels and predicting, candidate success, analyzing employee data. It can help in talent management, performance evaluation, maybe identifying areas for training and development. I saw that one in the chat box. Utilizing data, I think it could really improve employee engagement and retention, because then we can say, what's going on? What's the pain point? And that allows us to analyze it so that we can contribute to better job satisfaction and less attrition. So finance and accounting, just another one. Think about how crucial this could be for financial forecasting, budgeting, risk management. Analyzing financial data it could really provide insights into cost reduction, opportunities, and revenue. Right? Opportunities and revenue. Like, think about it, maybe operations, supply chain, help us, have better visibility by tracking inventory levels. I'm sure Amazon uses that. And demand patterns and supplier performance. This predictive analytics could really help optimizing, right? Production schedules, inventory, logistics planning. The last one I'm going to throw out there, it's a really important one, really important: customer service. Customer service. We're struggling with that one, team. We don't want to put too much AI into customer service and then we're just talking to machines all day, but it can expedite things, right? It can expedite. Think about it from that perspective of where can we use it with that balance of meeting the needs of the customer and at the same time being more effective, right? Because analyzing customer data can really help us understand customer needs, but we still need some of that live feel, right? So looking for that management of that, looking for the opportunity to find that formula, because utilizing data analytics tools, it can really enable customer service teams to identify trends in customer inquiries and proactively even maybe address some of those concerns early, right? Mitigate some of those. And predictive analytics could help anticipate customer needs, right? And provide personalized support. We need to remember the personalized support part there, team. So those are a few, right? Regardless of the job function, incorporating data skills and artificial intelligence could potentially enable professionals to make better decisions, improve efficiency, maybe drive business success, in today's data-driven world. Ongoing training and development and data literacy is really essential for us to get there, right? We can't expect our folks to buy in on artificial intelligence if we're not providing them with the tools to be successful, So how do we get there? That's what we're all wondering. So taking our first step, and it can be some baby steps. We don't have to rush in, right? We don't have to like all of a sudden go in and change everything. We have to first say, how do we identify a need? How do we identify a need for AI? Where can we take some small projects and start utilizing artificial intelligence and incorporating it into the organization? Because once the need is identified, the next decision is, how do you want to integrate it? Maybe start with a project, right? Whether or not you hire a contractor to come in and be your AI developer, or you create your own in-house AI team. You've got to have a team. You've got to put the right people on the bus, get them in the right seats, and give them the resources to be successful. Once you have the team together, they will create that vision. Together they will create that focus and communicate the goal of the project to the team. So to keep those communications transparent and ensure that expectations are clear. So let's take a look and talk about some of the what's the elephant in the room? Some of the pitfalls. With anything good also comes challenges. And I see a lot of chatter in the chat box. I promise I'm going to come back to those when we open up the floor for questions. While AI offers numerous benefits, its adoption, it comes with several potential pitfalls and challenges, and it can be a little scary. We're not going to cover all of them in this demonstration, but I want you to know that that is a big part of not only in each level and layer of our artificial intelligence workshops, starting from basic all the way to advanced. It's something to always be cognitively aware of. So priority and direction. I mentioned you start with some baby steps, right? You got to start with some baby steps. You got to get a project together, decide what that's going to look like. How are you going to integrate it? You might start with a business case, right? When defining your use of AI, it's really important to understand the goal. Why do you want to introduce it? What's your ultimate goal of introducing AI into your organization? And what are your priorities with it? What are your priorities? If you have a lack of priority or direction, what do you think is going to happen? It's just going to kind of derail or fail altogether. And then your AI initiative might be more costly than beneficial. We want to ensure that there's not a lack of transparency. Deep learning models, and that's why we started, kind of at the 10,000-foot level. It's even at the basic level, we got to understand what is this artificial intelligence? What's deep learning? what's machine learning? How does it all get fed into it? Because what happens is it can be so challenging to understand, that this lack of transparency, then we have concerns about accountability or trust and the potential for unintended consequences. So data quality, right? So this is our next remember I said I was going to talk about data ad nauseum and data quality. This is where the people, we have to do our due diligence. When implementing artificial intelligence, the quality of the data you plan on training the model with needs to be diverse. It has to be high quality, not old, not archaic, right? It needs to be representative to ensure the outcome of that learning model. And it needs to be representative of what your organization is asking the data to do, right? What's the end state? What are we trying to solve? We're also concerned with data privacy and security, of course, right? So we have to make sure we put those mitigating strategies in place. AI systems often rely on a large amount of sensitive data. So that can be a little scary. You got to make sure you've got a plan in place for that. That's why you want an AI team, right? Data privacy, when we look at that, raising those concerns that there's privacy breaches, data misuse, that's a scary topic. You've got to make sure that you've got a plan in place for all of those. Looking at protecting data is really important. Ensuring robust security measures is essential. It's absolutely special, especially for those of you that are government, to maintain user trust and compliance with regulations. And we don't want to over rely, right? And that's why, team, I'd like you to think about it. This is a tool. This is to expedite. This is to make things easier, but it's not the end all. Artificial intelligence is not the end all. Over reliance, relying too heavily on AI systems without considering their limitations or potential errors can lead to overconfidence and complacency. Human oversight and intervention is absolutely necessary and crucial to validate all AI output, correct errors, and mitigate risks. And that's teamwork takes me to the conversation on the team. You've got to make sure you set the team up for success. I've said it, put them on the bus, get them in the right seats, make sure you've got the right folks on this team. We want, folks that are excited about it. We want some naysayers too, because they help us see maybe the different perspectives that we might not see, right? So the AI team is crucial. It's important to ensure that your team understands the scope and the direction of what you're trying to achieve. If they're not prepared to undertake the project, then the model may not be completed with the scope or expectations originally defined. And then guess what happens? Bias and failures of fairness, right? AI systems can be inadvertently perpetrated biases present in the data used to train them, right? Leading to unfair outcomes and even discriminatory practices. So we have to address biases and ensure fairness in all AI algorithms. It is absolutely a critical challenge that requires careful data selection, model designs. And for those of you who took statistics in maybe your undergraduate degree or even at a graduate level, remember they always talk to us about the biases and how easy it is to skew data. It's easy to skew data. So we have to come with the goodness and do our due diligence to use this technology for the greatest impact, not for our own self-serving purposes. Now, team, I want to let you know we can help you mitigate and navigate these pitfalls. That's what our training does for you and your organizations. These challenges require a holistic approach that considers, the technical, the ethical, the legal, the economic, and social dimensions of artificial intelligence deployment. It really takes a lot of collaboration between all of your stakeholders across, the academia, your industry, government, for those of you, the government, and even civil society. It's really essential to realize the full potential of AI while mitigating risk. That's really important. It's really important. So I'd like to just share with you a couple of more things here, and we'll open up the floor for questions here shortly. You may or may not be surprised. 40% of global employment is exposed to artificial intelligence. The integration of AI is significant. It has significant implications for jobs and employment across various industries. While AI technologies have the potential to automate repetitive tasks, optimize processes, and even enhance productivity, they also reshape job roles. We know that. That's a concern of some folks, right? Reshaping job roles, skill requirements, and the labor market dynamics. So some of the aspects that we have to consider with AI increasingly being integrated into various aspects of today's jobs and multiple industries is the adoption varies. The adoption is going to vary depending upon the sector and the specific tasks involved, right? But there are some common ways that it is used. And I want you to think about this from this perspective, please. AI and jobs. Okay, so job displacement, it's a concern, it's a question. And if you put together an AI team, those are going to be some of the first things that you will be asked, in regard to job displacement. AI automation may lead to displacement of certain jobs or tasks that are repetitive, that are routine, or easily automated. Industries, such as maybe manufacturing, retail, customer service, and transportation, can be vulnerable to job displacement due to automation. With that said, though, we're looking at skill shifts, right? AI adoption drives shifts in the skill requirements of the workforce, emphasizing skills such as data analysis, programming, machine learning, and problem solving. Employees, team members, we need to adapt, right? Acquire new skills to remain competitive, right? To the AI driven economy. It also has an opportunity to create new jobs. While AI automation might eliminate certain jobs, as mentioned, it also creates new opportunities for employment in areas such as AI development, data science, machine learning, engineering, AI related roles. AI technology simulated job growth in industries that leverage AI competencies and capabilities for innovation and productivity enhancement. So it is a little scary, but AI is not going away. So we want to move with this momentum, right? The augmentation of human labor. When we think about AI technologies, augmenting human labor by automating routine tasks, enabling workers to focus on higher value activities that will require creativity, critical thinking, empathy, interpersonal skills. AI human collaboration. It enhances productivity and innovation in the workplace. So we want to think and talk about reskilling and upskilling, right? To adapt to the changing demands of the AI driven economy, right? We want to engage in reskilling and we want to engage in upskilling initiatives to acquire this relevant skills in these competencies and kind of produce this idea of lifelong learning, right? Training programs, educational opportunities. All of these are essential to equip our team members, our employees, with the skills needed to thrive in an AI related role. In an AI related role. So we know that, policy and governance, government policymakers and organizations, we've got to look at what are our policies. And we've had some questions in the chat box. This is all new, right? So do we have a policy? What is our policy? What is the risk? How do we get there? Because overall, right, the impact of artificial intelligence on jobs, it's really multifaceted. It's not a simple answer. Involving a combination of job displacement, skill shifts, creation of new jobs, and changes in job quality and satisfaction. But by embracing, right, by embracing lifelong learning, and adapting to these skill demands and implementing supportive policies, right, we've got to look at what are our policies and what do we need to change. We as organizations can navigate these challenges and turn these challenges into opportunities presented by AI in the labor market. So I want to bring Tony back in, team. He's just got a couple final words. I changed his clothes. So you feel like what he's wearing a little bit better. He's going to close out for us. And I'm just going to talk a little bit more big picture as far as what does the 4-hour workshop offer to you? This was a 1-hour demonstration, obviously very broad brush, 10,000 coming down to the 5 and a little bit of a 1,000-foot view. We'd like to offer you the insight as to what will it look like and how deep will we go? So with that said, let me bring back Tony.
We wrap up. Remember that the horizon of AI is vast and ever expanding. Embracing AI is key to unlocking potential in technology and beyond. Stay curious and keep learning.
All right, team. So Tony said it, stay curious and keep on learning. I know it can be a little bit scary, but hopefully we've given you a little bit of an understanding of where this all comes from. And we do control this. And as the layman data scientist, we have the opportunity to have this technology in our hand. So in our 4-hour workshop, in the basic, right, we take a deeper dive, right? We're going to define common AI terminology so you thoroughly understand it and understand the capabilities of each, and specifically in your roles and responsibilities. We want to help you learn the basics of building your own AI projects. We want to give you that support, some job aids, and some tools to get you there. Looking at some of those technical tools, you get to play around with some of them. Apply AI into your organization. How do I start? How do we get there? We'll help you understand some of the mitigation strategies, as well as how to get that buy-in, what the importance of that business case and that vision, and discuss some of the common challenges. We went over a few. We'll take a deep dive, but we'll also give you some ideas on how to address those concerns in a way that enhances the buy-in to the team and whom you're working with on your AI projects. And then, of course, navigating the ethical and societal discussions that surround AI. It is a discussion, it is out there, but it's something, team, it's not going away. So at this point, I would love to open the floor for any questions. I know there's a lot of questions